Zipper rolls out to the right, pitches off to Taylor, and Taylor's to the 20, down to the 15, down to the 10, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Touchdown, Billy Taylor! Touchdown, Billy Taylor! Billy Taylor scored a touchdown from 21 yards out. The crowd goes berserk. It was November 22nd, 1969. That they came to Barry, Michigan, all dressed in maize and blue. The words were said, the prayers were read, and everybody cried. But when they closed the coffin, there was someone else inside. Oh, they came to Barry, Michigan, but Michigan wasn't dead. And when the game was over, it was someone else instead. 11 Michigan Wolverines put on the gloves of gray, and as the organ played the victors, they laid Woody Hayes away. Under center is Wangler at the 45. He goes back. He's looking for a receiver. He throws downfield to Carter. Who's got it better than us? Nobody!
Welcome to the Michigan Man Podcast on Wolverine Sports Radio, a member of the V Sporto Network, and in partnership with SB Nation's Maize and Brew, for Wolverine fans from coast to coast. Go Blue and welcome to the show. I'm your host, Mike Fitzpatrick. On today's Visitors Edition, my guest is Colorado radio play-by-play voice Mark Johnson. A reminder that our free show app is available for you from Google Play and the iTunes stores, and we can now be heard on iHeartRadio as of this week, as well as Wolverine Sports Radio. You can find us on Facebook at The Michigan Man Podcast and on Twitter at The Michigan Man. Email me at themichiganmanpodcast@yahoo.com with your Maize and Blue thoughts, or call the listener line at 313-263-4842 24/7 with your comments or suggestions. To get us started today, here is my view from Section 17. We are 2-0 heading into Saturday's home game and have put up over 100 points of offense in the first two games against Hawaii and UCF. Very impressive. Wilton Speight has shown improved pocket presence, made good decisions, spread the ball around to numerous receivers, and was this week's Big Ten Offensive Player of the Week. If there is an area fans are a bit nervous about, it's the offensive line and the running game. Jim Harbaugh has said all week he is not worried about either of those. Senior offensive lineman Kyle Kalis said, Michigan fans should just relax. Everything is okay. UCF played 8 guys in the box the entire game on Saturday, so we put the ball in the air and the points on the board. We took what the defense gave us. We'll find out soon enough just how good our offensive line is. There seems to be some concern from fans about the defense, too. We were gashed for just under 300 yards on the ground last week by UCF, most of that yardage coming on 4 rushing plays. No doubt we have some things to clean up on defense, but Saturday's miscues are all coachable and fixable. I'm not worried even a little bit about this defense. This Saturday brings its own challenges. Colorado runs another up-tempo spread, and so far has been a 50-50 offense this season, 50% run, 50% pass. They have an outstanding quarterback in junior Sefo Lufau, who can beat you in a variety of ways. The Buffalo D has been very good, too. They have size in the trenches, a mobile linebacking core, and a very good secondary. This will be a step up in competition from the first 2 weeks. It will be a challenge, but every good football team wants that. We'll know a lot more about this Michigan team after Saturday's game. The new interactive sports app I've been telling you about is going to be out in October. It is unlike anything we've ever seen. Gaming apps are out there 24/7 to play, but there is nothing that lets you interact with your favorite team while they are playing the game. This app is simply amazing. For more info or a sneak peek, email playitfirst@yahoo.com and leave your cell number. That's playitfirst@yahoo.com, and make sure you leave your cell phone number. This app will take gaming to another new and very interactive level, so check it out. Colorado and Michigan have met on the field 4 times, and Michigan leads the series 3-1. The Buffs are off to a great start and will be a confident team when they take the field Saturday in the Big House. Colorado radio play-by-play voice Mark Johnson joins me next with his thoughts and unique insight into this CU team. Here on The Michigan Man on Wolverine Sports Radio, a member of the V-Sporto Network, and in partnership with SB Nation's Maize and Brew. With us on our visitor segment this week as we get ready for that big game on Saturday is the radio play-by-play voice of Colorado football, Mark Johnson. Mark, great to have you with us.
It's good to be on with you. Looking forward to our trip to Ann Arbor this weekend.
Well, it's going to be a lot of fun. Right now, the weatherman is saying we might get a little bit wet on Saturday, but of course, we're looking forward to the visit. Both teams playing well right now. Colorado breezed past Idaho State on Saturday, 56-7 in a tune-up for the showdown here in Ann Arbor on Saturday. It has been an impressive start for the Buffs, Mark.
Yeah, without question. And Mike, I'll tell you this. This has been this is my 13th season doing the Buffaloes, and I like to joke all the time. It's been a long decade. When I got here in 2004, they'd been rolling pretty good with Gary Barnett. Of course, there were some issues there, and then he got let go, and so it's been 10 down years. Now, Mike McIntyre came in. This is his fourth season, and started turning this thing around, got some administrative help, and it appears the Buffaloes are righting the ship. Now, I'm not saying they're fully back, but they've been very good through the first two games. I was just looking at some numbers, kind of getting ready for the game this weekend. Their first half scores, if you combine the two games against Colorado State and Idaho State, are 80-0, and the total yardage is something like 700 and some to 100 and some. So it has been a very good football team thus far, and obviously they're going to get a phenomenal test this weekend at the Big House.
Well, they have been very impressive, and as you mentioned, Coach Mike McIntyre now has gone 10-27 in his first 3 years in Boulder, made some staff changes this year, including the offensive coordinator. How has that changed this offense, Mark?
Well, I think it has in some respects, and we say he changed a coordinator, but there's a caveat there. He kept the old guy, if you will, Brian Lindgren, who does call the plays on game day, and then brought in former Buff Darren Cheverini, who was an outstanding receiver for Colorado in the late 1990s, and those two guys are listed as co-offensive coordinators, and they could not be more different human beings. Brian Lindgren's very quiet, we joke with him, kind of a mad scientist. He likes kind of the diagramming plays and X's and O's, and then Cheverini is just this ball of energy who kind of runs the offensive practices, and so they're very unique individuals, very different, but it's working pretty well. You've got Lindgren up in the booth calling the plays. You've got Cheverini down the field with hands-on, if you will, with his offensive players. They communicate greatly, and I think what it's done, he's brought a lot of the Texas Tech concepts that they used while he was with the Red Raiders into the Colorado offense, and then they've really picked up the tempo. It's a much faster tempo the Buffaloes are playing with on offense, and we've seen that be very effective. And it's especially effective when you think about, playing it over a mile high in Boulder, Colorado. That's really effective there. Won't have nearly that kind of effect with Michigan, but the tempo certainly is faster than what we've seen here in recent years.
Well, and I was in the summer starting to look forward to Michigan's schedule, looking at some of the teams we would be playing. I was reading up on Colorado last year, and what sort of surprised me was reading they were 2-5 in games decided by 8 points or less. So they were in games against very good teams but could not close down the stretch. And, of course, that has to change this year if the win-loss column is going to change. And that's easier said than done, isn't it, Mark?
Yeah, well, without question. But, Mike, that was part of the process we've seen with Mike McIntyre when he took this thing over. It might have been, and I say this with a bit of sadness and disappointment because I was the guy calling the Ents, it might have been on the bottom of the BCS level teams in the country. For a proud program that has won a national championship and has a Heisman Trophy winner and had phenomenal success, to be as low down as the Buffaloes were was really quite startling and quite sad, to be honest with you. So it's been a process, and the first couple of years, there were some very lopsided games the other direction. And then last year, you could see as he was recruiting and building this program, they came close a number of times. But you're right. Now you're at that stage, and believe me, the administration with the new $150, $160 million facilities they put up has basically said, okay, now you've gotten close. Now it's time to win some of those ball games and get this thing fully turned around, get back to, bowl activity and get back to where we expect to be here at the University of Colorado. So there is that aspect of it. But it's been a process, and so far so good, obviously, here in 2016.
Well, looking at this team, and I've been watching as much tape as I could over the weekend, senior quarterback, and tell me how close I get to this, Sefo Liufau.
That's pretty good.
All right.
Pretty good.
I've been studying that. 75 school records this young man holds, 68 outright. Is it safe to say this team will go as far as his arm and legs will carry them?
Well, I'll tell you this. He's a 4-year starter. He's a 3-year captain, which has only happened a couple of other times in the 127 years of Colorado football. He's the kind of guy that I said we had him on a show early this season, our television show, and I said he's the kind of guy that epitomizes college athletics. I mean, had a Liz Frank injury late last season, one expected to come back this quickly. They actually went out and kind of recruited over the top of him with going after a transfer player who ended up going to Cal. But, I mean, all the things that have surrounded him, and he just continued to fight through it. He's back. He's a good student. He's a great kid. All those things you look for in a college football player. In recent years, he's gotten, I think, a little bit of a bad rap for making mistakes, in the red zone, late in the ball game, as he's trying to lead this team back. And I say bad rap because when he's been on a team that's not winning, as good as he is, he's tried to lift the team himself many times. So I think he's a very good quarterback. He's obviously put up phenomenal numbers. He'll leave here as one of the greats of all time. I think the rest of the team has finally caught up with Sefo. There was a young man who was trying to win games by himself, I think, at times when a team was down and he was trying to dig out of a hole. And so he'd make some mistakes trying to make plays. I think this team has finally caught up with him where he doesn't have to, shall we say, shoulder so much of the responsibility. So I certainly expect him to have a great season. It's been 2 wonderful games for him, and now we'll see what happens when he has a little bit stiffer test this weekend.
Well, that's a tough foot injury to come back from. Is he 100% now?
Yeah, it really is miraculous. Chad Brown, a great All-American linebacker for the Buffaloes, All-Pro in the NFL, does many games for us in the sideline. He had that injury. He was doing the game with me when Sefo went down with that a year ago. And at that time, Chad said, he said, when that happened to me, he said, it took me almost 2 years to get back. And so we certainly didn't expect to see Sefo Liufau back to start 2016, but you have seen no ill effects of that so far. He's been fantastic, and he runs the ball very effectively. As a big man, he does run very well, and they utilize him in the offense. So far, we've seen no ill effects of that injury. It's been really a phenomenal recovery for him.
Well, good for him. And looking at that offense, Philip Lindsay, starting at a running back, also has very good hands out of the backfield. I think he was the second leading receiver last year, right up there. Along with Lindsay, who are some of the other weapons on the offense that we will see on Saturday?
Well, I think they've got a receiving corps that's been very impressive. In recent years, they've had a couple of guys come through here, Paul Richardson and Nelson Spruce, are both in the NFL now. And we wondered kind of who was going to kind of fill the void of those guys putting up record-setting numbers. Shea Fields, an explosive young man out of the Los Angeles area on one side. Bryce Bobo is a big-bodied receiver, about 6'3", a little over 200 pounds. He's been a guy that's flashed at times this season so far. And then Devin Ross is a guy that had an outstanding game this past weekend. A little bit smaller, 5'6", maybe 5'7" on a good day, and he's been a very versatile guy out of the slot. So they've got some talent there. They don't utilize the tight end all that much. They've got a couple of guys who've been relatively effective, but nothing like we've seen here in the past. But good receiving core, and then I think in the backfield, he talked about Philip Lindsay, a guy like Kyle Evans is a guy that's gotten some snaps here early this season, so he's been out there a little bit. But Philip Lindsay's been the bell cow, if you will, for Colorado in competitive ball games.
Well, the defense improved last year under DC Jim Leavitt, going from 39 points allowed per game in 2014 to 27.5 in 2015. You have 9 starters back, and the D has been very good in the first 2 games. I think Idaho State didn't cross the 50 until late in the third quarter on Saturday. Tell us about some of the key players on that unit, and what style of a defense we're going to see in the Big House Saturday.
Well, in fact, that Bengals team only crossed the 50 because the Buffaloes turned the ball over. They had under 100 yards of offense in that game. It's a 3-4 alignment. They've gone more fully to the 3-4 alignment, and it's been kind of a pressure kind of kind of defense. Josh Tupou up front is the nose tackle. He's about they list him at 325. He won't tell anybody exactly what he weighs. I do believe he's north of that. He's been very stout up front. They've got their last 3 leading tacklers from each of the last 3 seasons, which is kind of a unique thing. Because of injury, a different guy has led this team of tackles each of the last 3 years. They've got those 3 back in the middle linebackers. They feel very good about that. And, Mike, I'll tell you, this secondary might be as good as any in the country. And I say that very objectively. Chido Awuzie, one of our guys in our staff did an interview with Mel Kiper the other day, and Kiper said there's not a chance Awuzie makes it out of the second round. He said he thinks he's kind of a late first-round pick. At corner, Isaiah Oliver, Akella Witherspoon on the other side. Tedrick Thompson is a playmaker. Ryan Moeller, another guy out there. So very talented on the back end of this defense, which then allows Jim Leavitt to be very aggressive up front and use those outside linebackers and that 3-4 lineman to put pressure on opposing quarterbacks. So that unit's been a lot of fun to watch so far this season.
With us on our visitor segment as we get ready for Saturday's game is the radio play-by-play voice of Colorado football, Mark Johnson. Mark, I'm not sure how much, if any, tape you've been able to see yet on Michigan, but UCF did give us some problems with their up-tempo spread on Saturday. They gashed a good defense for over 270 yards. Granted, the bulk of that was on 4 plays. The Buffs are clearly a more athletic team than UCF. Is this offense that we're going to be seeing? We know it's up-tempo, but is it a run-first spread? Do they like to air it out more? What is the philosophy?
Well, I'd say it's pretty balanced from what we've seen here in 2 games. And again, I'm learning this along with everybody else because of the new offensive coordinator we talked about and kind of the differences that they've had in the offense this season. But they do try and keep it relatively balanced. And I guess the one question mark I've got, they've run the ball very effectively. They've been over 200 yards rushing in each of their 2 games so far this season. Now, with that being said, you look at the teams they've played, and so certainly those numbers are going to be padded a little bit. I do think the offensive line, as I mentioned earlier, is kind of caught up with Sepulveda, as we talked about the quarterback. But this weekend, obviously, they get kind of a little bit different beast against Michigan, and so they have a more physical front they've got to deal with. But that unit, it's not overly veteran in terms of having a lot of upperclassmen, but it's been a unit that's played a lot of football as young players, and so they are working through their sophomore and their junior years. And I know the Buffaloes feel real good about them, and so to me, that's going to be one of the interesting things to watch early on in this game is can they compete on the line of scrimmage, both offensively and defensively, with Michigan.
Well, the last time these 2 teams met was here in Ann Arbor back in 1997. Michigan won 27-3. And I know you said you've been calling the games for 13 years, Mark. But when I think of past matchups with the Buffs, all I can think about is September 24th, 1994, which we're going to see and hear all week. 6 seconds left, Cordell Stewart throws a 70-yard touchdown pass in the air to Michael Westbrook, which, of course, stunned all of us and exhilarated Buff fans everywhere. That still has to rank as one of the greatest wins of all time for Colorado football, Mark.
That certainly is one of the great moments in Colorado football history, really in college football history, and I know it didn't go the way of the Wolverines that game. And in fact, that's part of the reason, Mike, why Cordell Stewart's going to join us doing our sidelines for the game this week. He was the guy obviously who threw the ball, and then Blake Anderson tipped it, and Michael Westbrook caught it in front of Ty Law, and obviously it's part of college football lore now. But that was a phenomenal game that still gets a great deal of conversation in the Denver Boulder area, and obviously is going to have all kinds of talk about it this week.
I'm sure we're going to hear and see, as I said, a lot about that, and we remember it here for very different reasons.
Without question.
In this area. A final thought, though, before we let you get away, Mark. Of course, the great Bill McCartney was the Buffs head coach then. He's a Riverview, Michigan kid, not far from where I am right now. Same school that Lloyd Carr went to high school at. He was on Bo's staff here in Ann Arbor prior to that. He's going to be honored Saturday at the game. We all know he's ill, and of course wish him the very best. But talk about what an impact he had on the program, he being Bill McCartney, and how he is remembered in Boulder and by Colorado fans.
Well, he is. I mean, I joke all the time. I'll say, whatever they say, about John Wooden in UCLA, they say about Bill McCartney in Colorado. I mean, when he got here, this program was in the gutter. Within a few years, he turns it around. He leads him to a national championship. He obviously, Rashaan Salaam wins the Heisman Trophy under Bill McCartney, and is revered. And if you've ever spent any time around Mac, and I count it as a true blessing that over my 12 years here, I've gotten a chance to know Mac very, very well. He's impactful. I say about the players from that championship team, it's amazing. In 2016, when you talk to those guys, you can hear it's their voice, but it's Bill McCartney's words that come out of their mouth. The loyalty, the way they revere him is amazing. And so he is truly a legendary figure, maybe the legendary figure in Colorado Buffaloes football. And, there was some sadness this year when just a few months ago his family came out and told us that he's dealing with early onset Alzheimer's, and so he's struggling with that. But I think it's going to be a real treat with his history with the Michigan program, being a native of the state, for him to come back and be the honorary captain out there for the Buffaloes and be part of all that goes on this week. And I think that's going to be a wonderful tribute and well-deserved by a truly great man.
Absolutely. Great man, great coach, revered in this area also and in the Michigan football program. So it's going to be wonderful to see him honored in the Big House. Coming up Saturday, of course, 3:30 kickoff Eastern time. The weatherman says we might get a little bit wet, but it's going to be great to see the Buffs back in the Big House. And joining us this week on our preview of the game has been radio play-by-play voice of Colorado football, Mark Johnson. Mark, thanks so much for taking time from your busy schedule, and enjoy the weekend here in Ann Arbor.
It's been good being on with you, and I'm looking forward to a good game between Colorado and Michigan this weekend.
Quick Hits is next as we wrap up the visitors edition of the show on Wolverine Sports Radio, a member of the V Sporto Network, and in partnership with SB Nation's Maize and Brew. On Wolverine Quick Hits today, Jordan Lewis has practiced this week, but is still working through his injuries. He might be a game-time decision. The same with Taco Charlton, who has been hampered by an ankle injury. Other than that, Jim Harbaugh says everyone that was suited up last week is good to go for this Saturday. Drake Johnson and Noah Furbush will not be available again. No word on just what their injuries are or when they'll be back. Here are some game day facts. Saturday's game will be the fifth meeting between these two teams. Michigan holds a 3-1 advantage, and we've already talked about that one loss. The last meeting was in 1997 here in the Big House, with Michigan winning 27-3. Mike McIntyre is in his fourth year as head man at CU. His record is 10-27. He's 38-48 overall in his coaching career. Colorado runs a modified spread offense and a 3-4 base defense. According to NFL scouting personnel, the CU defense is anchored by one of the best corners in the game right now, Chidobe Awuzie. The offense is led by the very talented junior quarterback, Sefo Lufau. This kid is the real deal and is probably the best quarterback in college football we haven't heard much about, so watch out for him on Saturday. The Buffs return 18 starters from last year, 9 on both offense and defense. They were 4-9 last year, 0-8 in the Pac-12. Their last bowl appearance was the 2007 Independence Bowl, where they lost to Alabama 30-24. They are unranked coming into this week's action, but did pick up a few votes, keeping them just outside of the top 25. The weatherman says temps will be in the 70s on Saturday, and there will be passing showers and a possible thunderstorm. So just like last week, bring your rain gear. The new interactive sports app I've been telling you about is set to go in October. It is unlike anything we have ever seen. Gaming apps are available and out there 24/7, but there is nothing that lets you interact with your favorite team while they are playing the game. This app is simply amazing. For more info or a sneak peek, email playitfirst@yahoo.com and leave a cell number. That's playitfirst@yahoo.com, and make sure you leave your cell number. This app will take gaming to another new and very interactive level, so check it out. Thanks again to Colorado radio voice Mark Johnson for being my guest this week. Next week we get ready for the start of Big Ten play, with Penn State making their way to the Big House. On Tuesday, my guest will be Senior Editor Chris Balas from thewolverine.com. Then on Thursday's Visitors Edition, Penn State radio play-by-play voice Steve Jones will join me, so make sure you come back for that. That will do it for this Visitors Edition of The Michigan Man. Thanks for joining me. I'm your host, Mike Fitzpatrick. Have a great Wolverine weekend, everyone. Whether you're at the Big House, listening on the radio, or watching on BTN, enjoy the game. It should be a good one. Until next time, take care, and as always, go blue. Thanks for joining us today on The Michigan Man, here on Wolverine Sports Radio, a member of the V Sporto Network, and in partnership with SB Nation's Maize and Brew. Our listener lines are open 24/7 for your calls at 313-263-4842. That's 313-263-4842. Or email us at themichiganmanpodcast@yahoo.com. That's themichiganmanpodcast@yahoo.com. The Michigan Man Podcast is produced at the studios of Robin Lynn Productions, Allen Park, Michigan, and is not affiliated with the University of Michigan. Go Blue!